Good evening, folks. And now we have a wonderful little meme joke at the Salter Than Crate Reddit or subreddit. And it's after a response that Rian Johnson has had on someone with Twitter who's, of course, asking him simple questions that he can't be bothered to answer because he doesn't have one. And it starts off with this guy from the Actors Studio who always interviews people who come in, asking him about character development. And Ryan, what is your response to critics who feel that if you build up a hero or enemy, not paying it off is cheap? And he goes on to say, yes, I absolutely agree that you should not kill off a villain without explaining there. And then he has this weird phonetic sound. And this is in relation to this response that he had, or rather he was laughing at, on someone on Twitter. Someone saying, Priscilla, of course, very feminine looking girl. My dick is a Mary Sue. And of course, Ryan's favorite word, baby. And Ryan has the hashtag poetry. And then we have someone chiding Ryan saying, oh my God, look at me. I ignore criticism of story and only point to ridiculous examples. And there we have the phonetic hashtag ROFLM deek off. So he's talking about my dick. Come on, dude. The writing between stories has flaws. Pointing that out is not a problem. Good writing is expected. That's true. There's always going to be gaps between stories, whether it's a sequel or after a trilogy, regardless. Yes, I absolutely see your well laid out and rational argument. And now he's just, again, reiterating the hashtag in another way. As if we're going to have this massive argument online with this guy, which clearly won't happen. He's never responded rationally before. So now he's talking about Snoke, and this happens in the course of about a day and a half, roughly. And he responds secondly after that to the same guy. So right here. Okay, my point is that while it might be the Night King or Snoke, if you build up a hero or enemy, not paying it off is cheap. So he's talking about explaining a character's motivations, whether they're an enemy or a hero, it doesn't really matter. And there's a point to that. There's a plot line, there's motivation, there's things they have to do, things they want, a goal they want to achieve. And then we see what happens to that character. Do they achieve that goal? Why not? What happens, etc. There's all these things that get in the way, as all stories have these problems. Be it for character development or not. If you lay the groundwork for characters, pay it off. It's not brilliant to surprise viewers. Yes, absolutely. I agree that you should not kill off a villain without explaining there. And then he goes into the wonderful guttural phonetics. And that's the explanation of this whole joke. So there's lots of reasons. And I was just watching a video on YouTube about that. But I can give you a whole bunch off the top of my head of the problems with Snoke and Palpatine. Like the Emperor didn't really do much aside from be the bad guy. That was not really built up. It was just sort of mentioned. So when we got to him, it's like, oh, it's the bad guy. But that's not what the story was about. The story was about Vader and Luke's feelings for his friends and Vader and how he was going to stop the Empire's Death Star and try and save people. That was Luke. The Emperor was just the architect of that. We didn't need to know where the Empire came from. We didn't need to know the politics of that. It was just set up as episode 4 because that's how George Lucas designed it. Now, if Snoke was just some powerful guy who didn't lead, I don't know, the second coming of the Empire, then we could at least wrap our heads around that. Oh, he's just some other guy an upstart. But instead of just being some powerful military dude, he's this super extremely powerful force user, stronger than Rey, who somehow gave a rebirth to the remnants of the Empire. Now, how the hell did that even happen? Because again, we're talking about a sequel. We're not starting a new story. We're talking about 4, 5, and 6 episodes being done. So we have to explain what the hell happened after the Battle of Endor. How did he take power? It's a sequel. You have to do that. You have to connect the dots. You have to explain this. What happened to the state of the galaxy after peace was achieved? This is basic stuff. So somehow, this dude Snoke was the cause of all the problems after episode 6 for every character, every main character we've got. So the entire state of the galaxy was because of Snoke. Why Luke was the way he was, why Leia was the way she was, Han, everyone is the way they are because of Snoke. We don't know how he did it. We don't know why he did it. Being evil is not a plot. It's not a plot line. It's not a character. It's just, okay, he's bad for the sake of being bad. And you can blame Abrams for that. It doesn't really matter who you blame. But when you're in the second part of a trilogy, it's a good day to start explaining things. It's a good time to get into the backstory of things. But there was literally no sequence of events setting up the gap between 6 and 7. You think that Snoke would have coerced Rey by explaining why he was the way he was, so he can impart a piece of his humanity or rationale as to why he is the way he is, so she could understand him, which is what villains typically do. Villains are not villains because they think they're evil and, I have all this power. It's because they've made a choice and they've gone through with that choice, and over the course of time they've accumulated power and authority. That's all he had to do, was just explain why he is the way he is, or was. So why didn't the Republic stop all this crap from happening? Why did a resistance form from the Republic? Why didn't the Republic do anything? These are big questions which Snoke could have answered, which Episode 6 or Episode 7 could have answered, but we never really got that. Again, if this was its own story in Episode 7, we'd be like, okay, whatever. He's just some upstart who's really powerful and he's like a wizard dude. Weird. Okay, whatever. We could have bought that. But we have an entire 6 movies of lore to work with, and it was never addressed. So with Emperor Palpatine, while he was in charge, we're not really interested in his musings or his plots because his plots aren't relevant. He's the guy upstairs, but so what? We're not talking about him. We're talking about Luke and his journey. And he's sort of hinted at as the story went on. And of course, he's the guy that Vader follows. So there's some importance of what Vader's doing and why he's doing it. But the conflict is really about Luke and Vader and what Luke is going to do about stopping the Empire through Vader and the Death Star and his feelings for Vader and his feelings for his friends. So in reality, Vader is really the main character or the main villain. That's where we see most of the screen time. That's where Luke has all his clashes. That's what counts. We need that interaction. Whereas Snoke is the actual villain of the new trilogy, even though he works through Kylo and others. He's the guy with the plan that does everything. Kylo is not the central villain. He's largely incompetent. He's lost several times to the Resistance as well as our Mary Sue character, which is expected, I guess. So if he can't beat the Mary Sue character, well, guess what? You need someone even stronger than a Mary Sue, and that was Snoke. It's like, oh, okay, great. That makes sense. You have a villain who's actually stronger than the main character. Boom. How did he get so strong? That's all that the story has to do. Explain, why is he here? How did he get here? So Snoke was amazingly stronger, if not the same level as our Mary Sue. And all Rian had to do was explain it. Just say, okay, I'm an experiment. I'm this or that. Some little tidbit would have been something for us to work with. It wouldn't explain everything, but at least it's something. But Rian just killed him off. There was no backstory. There was no trying to turn Rey. Just boom, toast. So that means J.J. Abrams has to go back and fill the hole that he sort of created because Rian couldn't be bothered. And this is a very basic storytelling element to explain the motives of your characters, to explain the gaps between stories when you're doing a sequel trilogy. And it has to explain, like the next movie has to explain at least some basics, like where the hell was he all this time? What is he? Maybe he's an experiment. Like what happened to his body? How did he become so powerful in the Force? How did he resurrect the Empire? Why is the new version of the Empire called the First Order? How did he corrupt Kylo? What caused Kylo to go to the dark side? Why did he want Rey? That was a really dumb part of the movie. He wanted Rey apparently just to get to Luke. Didn't he know where Luke was? if he could link two minds across extremely long distances? Would he see and hear what Rey and Kylo saw? So all these little questions have to have some sort of answer in the next movie, and I highly doubt they're gonna do that. I can't see Abrams spending all this time on exposition just to explain a past event because he wasn't bothered to, and of course Rian wasn't bothered to. And this is the kind of attitude we get from these kinds of people. And it's just childish. It's pathetic. And he has the balls or the intelligence or the maturity to call people man babies. It's sad. I mean, it's one thing to engage with people, but he's just treating Twitter as a joke. Which it sounds like that's how he's treating his movies. As one big joke. So, that's Rian Johnson for you guys. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day, and take it easy.